Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Is this thing on? Let us know if you're in the chat. I see a bunch of people in here already. Okay, we see some folks typing. Everyone can hear us loud and
I see the
clear.
thumbs.
Yes. Yeah, give us some emoji reactions throughout, please.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Hello, hello. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Amanda Giddin, and I am the Director of Brand Marketing at GlossGenius. If you're not already familiar, GlossGenius is the only salon and spa software designed to help you grow more with less busy work. If you're not already familiar, and I'm super excited to be here today. We're not just discussing team growth, we are giving you a playbook on how to build a high performing salon or spa team without sacrificing your well being, which is the most important thing of all. And we'll be focusing on a key insight that your business can and should grow without you being at the center of every single task. And with that in mind, I am so thrilled to introduce my rockstar co-host, a true leader in the beauty industry. Please welcome Ambrosia Carey. Let's see some emojis for Ambrosia. Successful salon owner, renowned stylist and educator, and she's here to share the strategies that have shaped her business and can help you grow more without the busy work as well. Ambrosia, as a loyal GlossGenius customer and an incredible brand builder, would love for you to share a little bit about yourself and your philosophy on scaling without the burnout.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amanda. And it's great to be here. It's awesome. This lights me up. I always get so many feels from just like being with my own people. That's all of you guys. My focus as an educator is about helping salon owners and independent stylists to declutter their minds and take steps that will grow their business. Like I am one of you, so I speak from experience. The clutter is real. Like I know that we have like so many irons in the pot. So, our industry teaches us that there's more than one path to success. There are multiple paths, but it's actually really subjective. Like it can change iteration all the time. And I've learned that the key to avoiding that burnout is to build a team. And of course, having a system that works for you, which is where Gloss Genius comes in. I'm excited to share some somewhat non-traditional, but also sustainable strategies that have helped me so that you can do the same. Sustainability is a really big deal for me.
Love it. Thank you so much, Ambrosia. And I love what you're going to share today. I think it's a great balance of, future thinking. What does a modern salon look like? And also tried and true playbook based on your own success. So with that in mind, there's some great stuff ahead. But before we dive in, I see some folks have already introduced themselves, but would love to hear what's your name, where are you from, and what you do. Drop your business name if you'd like. See some typing. Hello, hello.
Yeah, I see we got Carla from Silver Springs, Nevada. Is it Nevada or Nevada? Potato, potato.
Exactly.
We've got Denver, Columbus, awesome.
Wisconsin, Alabama.
Alabama. And caps, yes, Alabama.
Amazing. We have some
San
great
Diego.
coverage.
Yes.
Hi. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Really so grateful and honored for you to share this time with us. And we are going to get right into our first topic, which is hiring with intention. Ambrosia, a lot of owners wonder when is the right time to hire. I know that's why a lot of folks have joined today. So
Yeah.
would love to just kick it off with a big juicy question of what's your perspective on this?
Okay. Rolling up the sleeves here. I'm just kidding. This is definitely a big decision and it's not to be taken lightly. And leading a team is both rewarding and it's difficult and it's in its own way. I always say that the team is the boss because if you don't have a team, then you're back to square one. You're on your own. It's not the other way around. And making them feel important, making them feel heard, and inspiring growth takes time and it takes commitment. But it also takes strong leadership. So making someone feel like their voice is not only important but impactful, making time for them is going to be a really strong first step. Um, so I would recommend that salon owners consider before they actually start hiring. So for the solo and independent, I kind of have like some dog ear bookmarks. So just if you have notes off to the side, I would jot this down. And just to be transparent, obviously it depends on your business. This is not the tried and true. This is just benchmarks that I like to go off of personally, that I have found that has worked with other salon owners I've worked with. So I've got notes off to the side just to make sure I'm getting it right. 75 to 80% booked 4 to 6 weeks out for the solo and independent. So if you have a solo suite or you're independent and you want to add another team member in, this is the benchmark that you might want to look for. And then your lead time for that. So that means that your next availability is greater than 2 weeks. And then for a team, so if you're a salon owner and you're wanting to grow your team as a commission salon owner, you want to be about over 60% booked out for 8 weeks. And then your lead time, what your next availability won't be for another 7 to 10 days. So just because you're booked 8 weeks out doesn't mean that you're fully booked. But what I mean is that your books do have some of your stronger services. So I like to say those as your kind of breadwinning services. And then once you're booked solid, greater than those 7 to 10 days, and that's kind of like a benchmark to go after.
This is super helpful, Ambrosia. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm going to just flip back to the slide before, which kind of zooms out to think about these 3 key metrics. I don't know if anyone has live questions, but we're also going to have time for questions at the end. I think something we want to touch upon is that everyone's business is different, and whether it's your services, your techniques, your staffing, your prices, but taking a close look at service revenue, booking utilization, and booking lead time can be those kind of signals that are telling you. I think a hard reality is there's no neon flashing sign telling you what to do when you're running your business, which can feel lonely at times. So having these kind of data points that Ambrosia has shared that have worked well for her and your clients that you coach as well is incredibly helpful. So I'm going to pause here for just one more minute on this slide just to take this in. Drop us it seems like we have some thumbs up, so this is resonating. Great to hear. And thinking about analytics and data, that's really important to us at GlossGenius, and knowledge is power. So just taking these numbers as a signal and staying really close to them is amazing. So let's say that we go through this exercise, we look at these key metrics, and we decide it is time to make that hire. We have heard from folks that sometimes it's like hiring can feel desperate, right? You're underwater, you've checked the boxes, you're overbooked even, and hiring can feel like a quick fix to fill an open chair or to delegate. But rushing this process can actually cost you so much more in the long run. Ambrosia, I know you're passionate about this topic, so I'd love to hear a bit more about why hiring is so important in a patience game as well.
Yeah, I have a story that goes with it, but we'll save that for a little bit later on. But the most important question isn't how fast I can hire, because it's easy to find somebody to hire, like any warm body. But what are you truly looking for? And I think that is a bigger question, like who can kind of plant their roots, even if they don't know everything initially. I think it's really important that you find somebody who fits the culture of your team. You need a sense of who you want to join that team. And then once you know that, then it's easier to market to that person and to know beforehand before you kind of put those feelers out. Alignment is such a big thing, preservation of energy, obviously. And if you're going to spend any of your extra time, which is the most non-renewable resource, it's so important that you preserve your time and your energy to basically invest into that person who is going to start you out strong and be another branch of you, an extension of you. When it comes to making that hiring decision, people often don't think about how important it is until they are injured or they hit burnout or something, and you get so full that you're like, okay, now I have to hire someone. So I wouldn't say wait for those red flags to happen, but the main thing is that you're looking for somebody that can kind of replace you in some scope, right? So that way you can start having that end goal in mind and then kind of working backwards from there. That's how you kind of, I don't know if you guys believe in manifestation, but just the true reality of being able to align with somebody that helps you get toward that end goal, at least is a really good way to map that out, I suppose. And then when it comes to finding, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
And then when it comes to finding those like on brand hires, like I was saying, those who align with you, I've found really great success in just kind of going into my own network with new talent. And if you don't have that network, then that's okay. We all have beauty schools around us. And so getting to know the directors of those beauty schools is a paramount thing, just to keep your finger on the pulse, get to know some of those new students, the new gen that's entering into our industry. And that network really helps to build out your future net worth when it comes to having an employee with you by your side. And I do have some situations too where I may teach a class or get to know some of these students, and literally like 2 years later, they come back in for an interview. So those things do come back around. It's just like a little seed that you're constantly like watering it just little by little. I've always hosted my own classes. Some of the most motivated and talented people actually do attend those classes. I mean, you guys all know you're motivated and talented and you're here for a purpose. So just think about people like you, and you're attending classes. People who are like you are also going to attend those classes. That's a really, really great way to expand your network of other fellow stylists around you, which can deepen those relationships as well. And that network really helps for just throwing that net out for future casting. And then on top of that, another successful way I found is hairstylists are constantly applying through an evergreen career page. So we can talk about that a little bit too. It's just having like a one page that allows people, yeah, there you go, where people can actually just, you know, go through the process. You can have like a short little description of what you're looking for, make it clean and easy to understand, just like a one click where people can enter in and fill out the application form. And, you can always have that like Rolodex. I don't even know if we can use that term. It's so old school, but you can have that to dip into at a later time, even if you're not really in the hiring process. But having that on hand can be really helpful because, again, like I said, there might be times that you interview someone and they might not be a good fit right then and there, but later on, you never know, they could come back around the corner again. And then, of course, last but not least, like a really big one is through, your social media presence, Instagram and TikTok, having that work with a series, like you can put them in like highlights or do like a little mini series. And that can show like your day in the life. It can show how you're training. You can kind of showcase your culture and your belief system. And then you can grow through stories, get to know people through that. So those are just like more than a handful of ways that you can like start to build branches on the tree, so to speak.
So much good stuff in there. Ambrosia, I love your network is your net worth. It really shows kind of the importance of investing in your future, and you never know who you're going to meet. And I think what I love about kind of that first top area you covered is putting yourself in spaces where there's values alignment and ambition alignment, whether it's in the educational setting, or at an event like this where there's like-mindedness and ambition. I love kind of on social, just living your values and leading with your values and kind of, exemplifying those in a really modern format. And then as everyone can see here, hiring page examples. Ambrosia, I love what you do here with, again, leading with values, and no one should be surprised when they walk in the door around what you're looking for, right? And I know you also share some details around professional development and your hiring process up front, and that upfront alignment saves you time and also, misalignment down the road, which is great for everyone because we're here to talk about time saving. So with that in mind, and everyone save your questions, or you can even drop them now and we can see if we can get to them in real time, or we'll do them at the end. And Roger, when you do decide to hire, I know you have a 4-step hiring process. You're full of frameworks. So I would love to talk through what that looks like.
Yeah. So when your time is limited, doing one-on-one interviews can be a little overwhelming. And sometimes like someone can interview really strongly and their energy can come across in a great way, or maybe your own energy is either good or not great that day. We're all human. So I start out with a group interview, and then I follow with those individual interviews. What that looks like is these applications, I let them build up a little bit, and then I will start out the group interview, and I typically will do this before I need somebody to bring on, if there's an open chair, if I need to bring another employee on. And I kind of have benchmarks that I look for in the apprentice program that I have existing, but that's like a whole different conversation. I'm just talking about the interview side right now. And once I get about, between 10 and 15 applicants, I will do an outreach and invite those 10 to 15 applicants to come in for a group interview. Typically, out of the 10 to 15, you may have about 6 or 7 that show up to that time in real time for the interview. And then you get to see those personalities with each person. It's not just the personality of the individual, but you kind of get to see the personalities of how others interact with one another. It's a really interesting
Mhm.
social experiment. But I always have a lot of fun doing it. And it feels like a kind of a big party in a way. It's like you're getting to know so many different types of stylists, different walks of life. Some of them are straight out of school. Some of them are coming from another salon. Some of them just moved into town. And you get to kind of look into those nonverbal communications, like how they're answering back to the answers that you're or questions you're asking, how they react to someone else's question. And in a lot of ways too, like obviously we can't hire everyone. I feel like it helps other people. Like if you're not hiring the 6 out of 7 and you end up hiring one, at least the other 6 to get to hear the answers from those others. So it helps set them up for their next interview too. So it's something that I've always enjoyed, and I found it a really great way of kind of like filtering through that process in real time. The next step is after we do that group interview, then we invite those stronger candidates to come back in for a shadow interview. I'm sorry, we do the individual interview. We do individual interviews. Those who are really strong with those individual interviews, then we come back for a shadow interview. The shadow period usually lasts anywhere between like an hour and like half the day. And really what we're looking for with that shadow interview is how well are they getting along with the rest of the team? Are they a natural fit? Are they shy and quiet? Most people are going to be in the beginning, which is fine. Typically, we have like a team lead who's kind of in charge of checking in with that person and making sure that they're comfortable, showing around the salon. And so that way they're familiar with everything is. We usually direct that person saying, like, in downtime, if you're uncomfortable, just feel free to go around to each stylist and introduce yourself. Don't be afraid to ask clients if they would like some water, tea, or coffee. If you see a mess, pick it up. If you see hair on the floor, feel free to sweep. This is where we have the eye vac. It's like really walking people through. It's your home. So you want it to people to feel welcome, and in some ways you're treating them as if they are like a guest co-host, I suppose, for that time being. Also during that shadow process, what's interesting to me is that I might not see it, but maybe another stylist will see something where big red flags, like if they're talking poorly about another salon or talking poorly about peers that they went to school with. You really get a sense of the character of that person. You see how they handle challenges. You see how they answer questions. If you give them a task, how do they respond to that task? And we haven't even gotten to the technical side yet. Like I don't really care how technically strong they are because that's something that is in our apprentice program. But I do care who you are as a person, and are you moldable? Do you receive feedback well? Do you do well in a group environment? Some people may not be as fast paced, and they may be overwhelmed and feeling anxiety, and so that's also something that's really important too. We've had situations before where someone's in their shadow and they get really comfortable and then they pull up a chair and they sit down. And that's another red flag, little things like that, little cues that kind of just when someone gets comfortable, they let you know who they are. So that's the shadow process. During that shadow portion too, I typically will pull, and this is granted, like I've built a team in time. So if I don't have anyone to pull aside, then I just reevaluate, like, how has everything gone? Who was a really great, strong fit? And then I'll invite them to come back in for a technical test. And we usually call a technical interview. The test portion, really, again, I'm not looking for their skill level. I'm just wanting to get a read on how is their chairside manner? Are they interacting with the client? Are they, talking about the party they went to over the weekend? Are they really loud? Are they really quiet? Do they do a consultation? Do they show clients what they're using? Typically, before the technical portion, we will set them up to let them know, like, we are not interacting with you. This is your time right now. The only thing we can answer for you is if you want to know what products to use on your client. So we usually have them choose between a haircut or a blowout. So it's a shorter service. And really, we just want to see how they're interacting behind the chair. And we let them know that, like, treat them like a client, make sure you do a consultation. If you have any questions about products, I can help you. And then give them a great blowout. And when you're done, then you can just see your model out. And then we'll give you a call when after everything. So it kind of alleviates a little bit of the pressure. The other thing I want to add with the technical side is I do find that it's better to have a team member do it, not myself personally, because that can make someone really nervous. So I typically will ask a junior stylist who has more freedom on their books. And I ask that we have a checklist that they go through. And basically they're just looking to see, like, did they do the consultation? Did they talk about their hair care at home before they got them shampooed? Did they explain to them what they were doing? Those types of things. Did they follow direction? And if there is any feedback, did they handle that feedback well? So I know that was a mouthful and that's a lot of steps. And I know that can seem overwhelming, but granted, I just want to alleviate some of this pressure by letting you know that this full 4-step process typically takes around 2 months from beginning to end to get all that through, to sync up schedules and all that stuff. So that's why I say I don't do it like immediately when I need to hire somebody. It's something that I like to kind of slowly, romanticize and get there until we find the right fit. And with that said, sometimes we go through the full process and there's not a single person that is like the right fit right then and there. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, that there have been times where there's one gal in particular, she went through this full step process and she just said, I don't think I'm ready to join a team of this size right now. I think I'm going to stay where I am. Totally respected that. Much love. Like, thank you for introducing yourself. Don't be a stranger. If we ever have classes in the future, please come. And then 2 years later, she ended up coming back and she said, you know what? I gave it a good college try and I'm ready to like just go all in. And I really would like to be considered. And I said, well, luckily we loved you so much that we actually don't need to do the interview process. So let's sit down and look at the schedule and let's just see how we can like kind of introduce you. And she kind of fast tracked through the apprentice program because she already had those 2 years under her belt working at another salon. She just didn't feel like she was getting the technical support that she really needed.
I love that anecdote because it's such a testament to investing in the process, and the kind of upfront calibration leads to gains down the road, whether it's immediate or not. And I also love, you mentioned no one wants to be in this kind of like desperate place hiring, which of course happens, and there's no shame in that. But like reading those signals of those metrics, investing in this process, and kind of having that on an ongoing basis is so smart. Ambrosia, there's some questions. It's great to hear that some people had used this system before. Nicole has. Others sounds new to. I think a question coming up is, this is maybe a more process heavy interview than others might be used to. Do you feel like you see higher retention after the fact because you have this kind of like upfront alignment and buy-in and investment in this person?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just to give you a little bit of backstory. This is for my hybrid salon. So I've got a handful of rental stylists and then the rest are commission. So about 85% commission. The turnover rate for that is extremely low, luckily. So that's what I found is you invest more time up front on that person and you find a better fit for somebody in the long run and they end up staying on longer. And that's kind of what going back to like those deep roots, you want to hire those oak trees, like people who need a little bit more nurturing. It kind of makes me think of that bamboo analogy, where you feed the bamboo water and it takes time and then finally just shoots way up. McKenna had a question about paying. Yes, or for the shadowing day. Yes, you do. You pay for the time frame that they're there and you just cut a check for that day. Minimum wage, they're there for, like I was saying, a minimum of 1 hour to a half a day. I think, also just like not being stingy with that, just making sure that you're being like very mindful of who you're inviting into your space. But that said, there are shadow days that we offer to students, and that's something completely different, which we can go into in a second.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking about the turnover rate. I think at one point I was looking at the numbers on that. We have had over the course of 5 years, 3%, or let's see, how does that work again? 3% turnover. So very, very low, extremely low. So I think what's really important about that is that, the apprentice program that we offer, it's you build in time. So basically what you're doing is when you hire them, they start out with you. What I typically have is a list of things that I would like to see them achieve in the first 4 weeks. And then the second 4 weeks, that's when they actually start to integrate clientele. So we have one day that we choose for them. That's their opportunity day. They do get to earn commission on that day. They earn commission or hourly, depending on what's greater. Each state varies differently, but most states, that's how it operates. And then that once they actually hit certain benchmarks, and you get to set those benchmarks as a salon owner, then you decide when they're ready for that second day. And once they earn that second day, then sequentially it just grows from there until they finally graduate, so to speak, from the apprentice program. Typically, we kind of go over like the big hitters. We want to make sure that they feel confident in their color formulation, hair cutting, and of course their highlighting skills. And then we go further into like updos, barber cuts, extensions, all that stuff. So more advanced services a little bit later down the road. So what we've found with that too is that it lets somebody build their chairside manner, their chair skills, but it instills confidence in them, and you're also letting them know that you trust them. And I mean, let's be real, when somebody gets their license, they want to start earning money right away. And as the landscape changes in our industry, we can't dig our heels in and say like, oh, but we did it this way, and we like went uphill in snow, both ways, and like we slaved and all that. Like those days are not the same as they are today. And we want to make sure that we're adapting to that next gen stylist. And what's interesting is I find that if you just give a few parameters and you just keep the bumpers up for a second, like the bowling bumpers, that people can be pretty self-directed on their own. And, that's the best way to learn, right? So having models come in, giving them plenty of time, extending the hours booked on the schedule so that they feel super successful, and having a junior stylist that can be by their side to check in with them and just make sure they're doing really well. Those are all really great practices to help them. And I am looking through to make sure I'm answering everyone else's questions before we move on. Let's see. Interview is not paid as they haven't been hired. Yes, that's right.
Some great feedback. Awesome. We'll keep your questions going, and we'll get them throughout or even at the end. I'm gonna go back here for one more second. Let everyone take a look and remember your questions for later. Awesome. All right, we're going to move it along to part 2. Part 1 was juicy. Lots of great insights. So please share your questions for that. Roger, we have a question for you on multiple locations, your kind of current salon setup.
Yeah, current salon setup is I'm just doing rental right now, but I actually am doing a hybrid between the apprentice program that I've had in the past and integrating it as a mentorship shadow option with chair rent. So it's included in their chair rent. They pick a day that they want to learn, and then they have a building day, and then it's sequential. So I'm giving them kind of a break, and it's a 6-month commitment. That's something I'm really excited about. And I don't personally know anybody who's done it. I really hope more people do it. I want her to be successful, of course. I mean, why wouldn't we? But I really want it to be more successful in the aspect that if it goes really well, that I can show everyone how they can do it too, and build, a more curated team rather than just like renting a chair out to anybody. It's like a very specific person. It just kind of landed in my lap. I wasn't necessarily looking for this opportunity. She just approached me, and she really wanted to learn from me. And she was asking about the shadow, the 3-month shadow option that I offer, but she also wanted to be independent. And she said, well, I'm in that gray area. We've heard this before too, where stylists want to, be an employee for a year and then be a renter. And so to me, it's like, you are your own business, whether or not you're an employee or you're not, you still are in charge. And yes, I know that it's different when you are the owner of the salon, and you're kind of creating that, you're curating your team. But when somebody is taking care of a client, they are responsible for their client. So the mentality, I think, is a little different when someone's an employee versus being, an independent, and you have to kind of treat it a little differently. But this hybrid option, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this transpires. And this is kind of a newer project for me. I'm doing it. And I know that not everyone here is salons. We've got some spas in here too. So if there's any question on, I suppose in your situation, it might be a little different, but we're kind of all in the same vein too, right? I mean, we're still there to nurture a team, and that team, regardless if they're your employee or if they are, a renter, we still want to make sure that we're inviting people in that feel like a really great fit for our culture. Because the stronger the fit, the longer people stay. It's not, people don't really leave because you don't have anything else to offer them. It's because they don't feel seen or heard. So that's a big one.
I love it, Ambrosia. You'll have to come back and do that playbook at a later date once you
Yeah.
have that data to share with us. Awesome. Okay, we're going to go into our next topic, and I'll come back to the questions in a second, which is outsourcing for efficiency, which is about freeing up your time to focus on what's most important. And this does include, of course, delegating to your staff, but also outside of it. So let us get into it. Before we go into Ambrosia's tips and tricks, I would love to poll the group. Would love to hear one business task you would absolutely love to delegate or outsource. Let's hear. Inventory. Oh, do we have good news for you at GlossGenius? More soon. Social media, hiring.
Everyone's social media.
Social, yeah.
Same.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do an event with our social expert at GlossGenius who can share her tips and tricks. Social. All right. Big on social. Anything else outside of social? We had inventory, hiring, marketing for med spa. Marketing, payroll. Okay, well, we have a lot of coverage at GlossGenius that can help folks out here too. So I'm really excited to get into that, and also more coming, of course. Answering DMs. Okay, this is really helpful. Great. We'll keep this in mind as we go through here. But let us get into it. So here we're going to talk about delegation. Ambrosia, over to you around some of the things that you delegate. Let me just leave it at that for now.
Yeah. In time, I've had the opportunity to kind of sample different, third-party sources or delegate to the team as you're growing it. I did forget to go a little bit further into the shadowing part. So sorry, I don't mean to skip over that. Just so I'll revisit it really quickly before I talk about delegating.
Awesome.
The shadow opportunities, and this is something that, and again, it depends on what state you're in. And Portland, Oregon, where I am, at least, we have the opportunity to be able to work with students, and they can earn hours as they are with you. That's been a really phenomenal way to kind of build your next stylist before they actually finish their schooling. Of course, they can't touch hair. They have to be in that learning space with you. But they can at least see where you keep everything, how you're mixing color, the theory behind it, how to do consultations, what retail we carry. There's all those other kind of soft skills that you can kind of help cement up before you actually even go into the next stage, which is them putting hands in hair. And I think it also helps them build confidence because they get to know your space. They feel comfortable. It feels like a home away from home, and they get to know the other stylists. So we have successfully hired 2 stylists within that shadowing option while they were in school. They would come in, earn those hours, and then you just sign off on it, and they bring it back to school to show that they actually did fulfill those hours. Again, it depends on what state you're in. So that's something worth reaching out to beauty schools or just seeing if it's an option. And if it's not, even still, like, I think just offering a shadow to people who you're not really sure if you're really ready to hire yet, or you're ready to interview yet, can be a really great opportunity for somebody who's fresh out of beauty school. I just find it's the best organic way, I think, to discover talent. Notice how I didn't mention anything about outreach to other people. I'm not saying it's bad. I know recruiting is a thing and it happens. And I've had stylists who have told me that other salons have reached out to them and tried to recruit them. And my philosophy is that if someone is recruitable, then they will be recruitable again, you know? So um, for me, I want somebody to really want to be there. And I would rather wait, you know, maybe I don't know if that's stubborn of me. Like, I would rather wait for the right fit than to outreach to somebody who I think might be the right fit. You know, there's only so much you know about somebody until they really are in the space working with you. They can be amazingly talented, but maybe they're not great team players. So there are all these things that I think that are really important above all else, that far outweighs the technical side of it. And I think it pays its way in dividends in the future. So with that said, beauty schools typically, depending on the beauty school, I suppose, but I know Aveda is one of the examples. Beauty schools offer like annual career fairs that I like to go to. And I just like to see the next gen stylists. I like to meet them. I like to talk with them, answer questions. A big thing that I like to do is talk to them about interviewing before they actually finish school. And I talk to them about what questions to ask the salon owner too. Not only does it kind of show your authority in the industry, but it also is a really great way for them to feel just comfortable with talking to you. And sometimes people do outreach once we've visited too, and they say, can I come in sometime for an interview? So sometimes just a little shoe in just to get people warmed up a little bit. But it's also just a great way for you to be front of mind with these students who are really overwhelmed, you know, and they want to start working as soon as possible, but they also want to be in the right hands. Um, Obviously, like when it comes to, well, let's talk about delegation for a second, since that was your question. Sorry,
Mhm.
Amanda, I don't want to be all over
Oh,
the place.
all good.
So as far as delegating, outsourcing, obviously it helps you with being more efficient. Before I actually reached outside of the walls for outsourcing, I really just worked with the front desk and the team that we already had. A lot of times new talent, AKA the apprentice. You know, like I was saying, I want them to learn from day one how to grow their own business, how to build their own business. I came from a background, I was in a salon, I was a lead educator for 15 years, and they were very against like stylists having their own social media presence. And I'm the complete opposite. I think it's really important to be empowering and help people be really good with what they do. Just like so many things when we start out, you know, just think about the very first service you ever offered and how cringy it was. So the same thing can go with social media. Social media takes, it takes thought, you know, and so sometimes sitting down with the team and just coming up with plans. So sometimes that can mean like you have a monthly meeting, and of course you feed everyone. You have a lovely breakfast together. You talk about things that are inspiring you. Maybe put together a mood board. You talk about some of the things that are trending. You go around to each person and say, "What are your top three favorite products right now? What are you loving right now? What hairstyle would you be okay with it just leaving forever, you know?" And then you kind of build your social content around that. And then you put together a calendar with part of your team members. We had a new stylist, a new talent stylist who was not fully in she loved social media, thank God for us. So we were lucky in that aspect. But so she would carve out some hours, and she actually pitched to me. She said, if I could have 4 hours to dedicate toward social media and block myself out, is that something that you'd be willing to pay me for? And I wouldn't have to be in the salon. And I told her, well, let's try it for 3 months. So I just said, let's go for 3 months and have you do it in house and see how your cadence is going. And then afterward, I okayed it and I just said, let's do it. So that was a really cool way for her to take that ownership. And what she was in charge of was reaching out to the stylists and asking them for specific things. And the stylist had to give it back to her. And then she would put together the content. Since then, as she started growing behind the chair, we transferred that task over to the front desk. I think the front desk is the most underutilized resource. If you have a front desk, I realize not everyone has the luxury of having a front desk, but a front desk, I mean, just really think of them as, you know, your in salon manager or your in spa manager, someone who can help delegate those responsibilities. So that might be somebody who can collect the footage for you, and maybe they're not editing anything, but they can collect that. Maybe there's somebody who can help with organizing the content calendar for you. You can talk about your initiatives with that. So what we do as a team is we have a shared folder. You know how you can share on iCloud a folder on your phone. So that's something we've done in the past, and you can even make comments on it too. So that if people have like a specific thing that they did, a service that they did, they can just comment the service that they did on there, or they can put the client's name, and then whoever's helping us with it, we can look it up. um, Things have got, there's a lot of things juggling, lots of plates and stuff. And so one of the plates I wanted to not juggle, which I feel you guys on that, which most people answered, is social media. I'm laughing because I saw somebody say the service. But social media, I know it's a pain point. So I do have a third party outsourcing that I work with, and they are in charge of helping me with editing that material. And I know that there's a lot of AI editing tools. I haven't found the best software for that yet. And as it just so happens, I really like this person that I've been working with. They don't do any of the posting for me. I still do the posting because I think it's important to have the interaction, that touch point. But I think sometimes when it comes to social media, I know it's a big bite, and I think a lot of people just overthink it in some ways. And I think in other ways, they compare it to the formula that seems to work for other people, which is, you're going over like formulations and all the things that are not applicable to your ideal client. And I think that that is a missed opportunity, because we get a lot of clients that come into new talent from social media. So yeah, Canva, we've used Canva, and obviously with Canva, it's now installed. It's like part of ChatGPT. Like you can even do that too if you have the paid version. I know there are a lot of options these days. Fortunately, social media, less actually is more. You don't have to be posting every single day, as long as it's like really strong content. But I just think, as far as delegation goes, those who like doing it, ask them if they want to do it, and you will make their day. And give them that responsibility, and maybe just carve out some hours, like we did for the gal I was telling you about, Hallie. She did it for 4 hours a week, and she just loved it. If people are good at it, let them do it. If people aren't good at it, then maybe they can just be assigned a task, and they just pass the torch. So hopefully that helps you guys.
I love that. And I think, Emerson, you've talked about this a bit, but knowing where you're uniquely positioned to add value, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe, you're recognizing video editing isn't the best use of your time. And maybe some other
Mhm.
members of your team, aren't meant to be doing SEO. So you're
Right.
outsourcing that to a third party, or who your best kind of creative email marketer is. And we have GlossGenius tools for that. But I love the idea of like identifying superpowers and then kind of leaving the rest and resourcing against that accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but like when you're delegating, you're not only freeing up your own time, but you're showing your team that you trust them, and that's a pretty big
Totally.
motivator. That's all I know. I mean, I know for me, like back when I was an employee for somebody else, if I had all these rules that I had to follow, it's almost like that's why kids want to get out of the house. Like you don't want to be that person. You want to make sure that, like, if somebody wants to do something, empower them, let them do it, and don't try to control that piece. Like you have so many other things that are so important that actually bring money into the business, that you want to put your time into that.
I love that. And I loved how you were framing also like the 4 hours a week, right? Like what is your kind of 10% project where you can run free and prove it to you as a leader, that this is a worthy investment of time.
Yeah.
So I think it's and showing your team you trust them is the ultimate empowerment tactic, right? So that's really great to hear. Um, and on our next slide here, we have a little bit about outsourcing doesn't always require people power. How do you let your people really shine in the areas that they love, whether that's introducing a new service, social media, whatever it is. But the right technology partner is also a crucial way to outsource. I know many folks here are already familiar with GlossGenius, but wanted to make sure that folks are also aware of some of the tools that you may or may not know that can actually act like a member of your team. So Ambrosia would love to hear a little bit about how you use GlossGenius to outsource.
Yes. So, well, there's actually quite a few things. I think what I can start with is, first of all, I love the fact that GlossGenius texts us. And I basically just hit the microphone button and I just say the formula that I did and it saves it for me. That's like, it's such a winner for me because I don't want to take my time to type out the formula or write it out. And I am the type of person that I like to change formulas quite a bit or do other services on my clients. I'm not always doing the same thing. So that's pretty important. Um, I also, let's see, I have my notes. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything because you know how it is when you're thinking in the moment, you're like, I can't think of anything.
Totally. We have some slides for that, so no worries at
Thank you.
all.
That will help
Our
me.
official part of 3 is how to automate to make more possible, and I'll just tee it up here. I think,
Oh yeah,
um,
the automated wait lists. I love that. That has been amazing too. So I'll get clients into the gaps in the schedule, and I like that it just kind of like handles that legwork for me. Um, and it's when we try to do it manually, it's easy to stay on top of it just for a moment, and then it can just like the wheels can fall off the bus pretty quickly. So having that automated feature, anything automated, I'm just a fan of. And the fact that I don't have to do anything to set it up, that's even more brilliant because we all know here that especially for those who are not super tech savvy, I would say I'm mid, but like tech savviness, like sometimes like setting it up is even more difficult than the idea of doing it at all. So that can be really frustrating. Oh, deposits. Deposits is the other thing. Like I do some pretty lengthy services. I do really big projects. So having the deposits, that has saved me, I mean, literally hours each week, like not having to deal with, because I don't have a front desk anymore at this new space, right? So like having that piece of it is a really important feature for me. So I don't have to have somebody, explaining it and collecting it and all that. Like the fact that it's just like already on there, and it goes through a detailed explanation for the client so they understand it. I love that when new clients make appointments too, that they have to enter all their information, including their credit card. So that's really wonderful. Let's see. Client notes. That was something that I was actually saying before. Like I literally just push the microphone button and I speak into it and then it saves it for me. Sometimes if I revisit it later, it's just really easy to go and modify it. I like that too because I've used other booking softwares where you have to tap like 3 or 4 buttons in order to even get into the notes. So I like that it's just literally right there. Oh yeah, the Genius Shop. I just recently have been looking through that, scoping through the inventory. I know that has got inventory management on there. I use the inventory manager all the time. It's really quick and easy. The fact that you can scan a barcode on your product and it just automatically adds it in is genius. No pun intended, GlossGenius, and and it's an easy way to order those products, and then get the samples in line while exploring GlossGenius. I think it helps me avoid those travelers to retail and online hunting also because there are just like so many products out there. It's ridiculous. So the Genius Shop, that's really gotten me excited about like checking out some new things. Um, Scaling retail revenue. That's another one. I've used the GlossGenius to text and or email marketing. But sometimes when I'm with a client and I'm talking to them about something and maybe I'm out of it in inventory, I can literally text the affiliate link to my client from the app. It's from my phone itself. That's been really awesome, and I've done that several times. I have
so
a
smart.
Amazon affiliate link as well, and sometimes I've done that where we're literally talking about something that's totally unrelated to it, but it's nice just to have all of my clients' information in there so that I'm not like, hey, what's your number? Or how do I send this? Like, I just go onto their profile, I send it out to them. Great, good to go. Makes it really easy. Sometimes I'll even make a note of it, like I sent such and such to them, ask them about it next time. So that's been really great. And then the forms and waivers, I like the fact that they have built-in forms and waivers. I modified it just a little bit using ChatGPT. And that's been really helpful because I video my clients, and having that form ahead of time, having their permission to use that footage is imperative for growing my education business because I do a lot of education through this space, and I record my clients through a lot of it. So it feels like a two birds, one stone scenario, and doesn't add any extra hours during that consultation time. So getting that pre-vetted is a really, really cool option. So yeah, there's a lot of features that are automated through GlossGenius. And I didn't even talk about email marketing. I think email marketing is a really important function, especially when you have specials that you're running, or it just keeps you top of mind for your clients, especially the clients that don't remember to rebook. I like the fact that it sends reminders too, that if somebody doesn't, that you can have it send you a reminder. Even if you don't want to collect a deposit right then and there, it reminds you too. So yeah, there's a lot of built-in features that are immensely helpful for me, and I don't have to scan around for it. I actually open up GlossGenius on my computer, and I also use it on my phone. So sometimes when I'm looking for an appointment, I might open it up on my computer so I can see the full week in front of me, and then I'll be on my phone, just making the appointment itself on the phone. It's on the phone. So there are specific features that I like the layout for it on the computer versus the phone, and I just like that it's really easy to use, and you don't have to have a special app for it. So I mean, you don't have to do any special things to download it or log in. So that makes it really easy for me too.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
These are some of our favorite automation features. I hope everyone is enjoying these. I love that Forms and Weaver for your education work. And then also, so many folks mentioned social media, also getting those permissions to use people's name and likeness in social is a really smart utilization. Great to hear you're loving Genius Shop, which, as folks might know, is relatively new. Connecting inventory management to the ability to shop for products, which we have here. And I'm going to go back for a minute. Also, just wanted to call out that we've seen folks who use deposits actually increase successful appointments and reduce no-shows by 32%, right? People care about spending money they don't need to spend. Deposits is a great accountability partner. So whether that's supporting your front desk, or maybe you don't have a front desk and keeping folks accountable, it's really awesome. Invoices is also relatively new, which we've
Oh
gotten
yeah,
some
I
great
forgot. I was
feedback
going to talk
on.
about that too.
Oh yeah, go
Sorry,
for
keep
it.
going.
Oh, no,
Oh,
better from you than me. Go for it.
I've used the invoice feature a couple times now already. One of those situations, a client wanted to purchase some hair extensions, but the credit card that we had on file, she didn't want to use that one. She wanted to use a different one. Rather than me texting back and forth and collecting that information from her, I just set up an invoice and sent it to her, and then she was able to pay through that. So that was one scenario that it worked really well. Another scenario, and we all know that this can happen. I had a client who didn't show up for appointment, so I did get a no-show. Her credit card was on file, but sometimes what happens is somebody could block their credit card, or that could be a credit card that's no longer good. So it wasn't allowing the transaction to go through. I sent her a really polite text and email, and I just tried to over communicate with her. I'm sure she didn't do it on purpose, but I did email her letting her know that in order for me to secure an appointment for her in the future, she would need to settle that appointment. So I went ahead and sent her a invoice for that missed appointment, and that was a way that it just kind of takes the air out for a second. You don't really have to deal with that transaction face to face or even on the phone or anything. And I feel like it just comes across a little bit more professionally. And then you kind of leave it up to the client and determine what that's going to do. So that's a really great way, I think, in the future yes, I know that sometimes no shows can happen. And yes, even though holding their credit cards on file is a really great way to ensure that, but it doesn't always work that way, right? Because sometimes people will block their credit card, or they'll change their credit card, and then it's not a good one anymore. So invoicing that has saved my pants twice now. So it's been great.
I'm so glad to hear. And, I think something we're passionate about is no one likes talking about money. It's not what you want to put as the center of your conversation with your clients that you're building rapport with. So these options that make payments stress-free and also give folks as many options and flexibility as possible, that's why we're building it this way. So I'm so glad that invoices have served you well. And thank you, Kieran, in the chat for sharing how to get started if you haven't already. I recognize time has been flying because we have so much great stuff to talk about. And I know we promised a little Q&A. So I think we're through most of our content here. A little wrap up here. Ambrosia, thank you so much for covering really juicy, robust territory. I personally feel like I've learned a ton, and I think it's really helpful to have frameworks and examples. Thank you for sharing, being so generous with your wisdom. Let us get into some questions. Okay, we have some questions about GlossGenius, which Kieran will answer in the chat if it's about specific features. Any questions for Ambrosia that we didn't cover earlier?
I'll go back through because I wasn't able to see everything, just to make sure. And if you asked a question and I didn't answer, or either one of us, maybe it's not something I answer specifically, but please ask it again if we don't get to it. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I just might have missed it.
I'm going to go off sharing there. Oh, we have a good one from McKenna. Ambrosia, what are the signs of a good employee?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I think eagerness to learn. One of the questions I ask people is what have you done to nurture your education since you've graduated? If somebody is going to attending classes, practicing on their doll heads, and they're doing everything outside of the digital space, like I think most people are like, oh, I'm on YouTube or Instagram. I like to see that someone has like that initial drive, that they have that tenacity, that they're actually putting their hands in it and they're really trying it. Willingness to hear feedback constructively and openly, I think is really important too, which is why I like to do that 4-step process. And yes, I know that can be a little bit labor intensive, but I promise putting work in the front end always saves you in the back end. Sometimes people can be really shy and quiet initially, and it's only because they're not comfortable yet. So don't take shy and quiet as an indicator that they wouldn't be a strong stylist behind the chair, because that is also a really important quality too. It's really seeing what is it that they are really passionate about and they want to grow. Asking people what their long-term goals are, even though I know that our long-term goals can change. It's just important to know that people are forward thinking or future thinking. It shows you something about their character, I think. And then throw them a curveball, like ask a question that's not related to hair at all. Something that, gives you an indication of how they like to live their life, where they grew up, how many people are in the family, things like that. Like, tell me about your background, things like that. And I also like to ask what's one mistake that maybe has happened in your past, and how did you handle it, and what did you do to solve it? Looking to see kind of how they answer that, taking ownership of that mistake, and seeing that they have tenacity enough and honesty to be able to own up to making a mistake and making it right, because that's a part of life and being human. And if somebody is always showing you their good face, like, you want to see what happens in their ugly times too, because that's what builds the character. So I really like to go off of character. The rest of it is like that unexplainable mojo, like, when you have like a flow with somebody and you just can feel there's something, where you do a little bit of a gut check, where you're like, they tick all the boxes. They seem like something that's like a really great fit, but there's something that doesn't feel right, And so maybe just going with that, like trusting your gut instinct is a really important thing. I remember there was a time that I hired this gal and I really, really liked her. And I still do. I mean, she's a great human. Um, but I think, sometimes people, they have a hard time with, letting people have ownership of their own things. And so I think sometimes they want to get ahead of themselves and have like answers to everything, even if they're not like the right answer. So
Yeah.
this person in particular had a tendency to undermine, although that was never her intention. But through lots of conversations and kind of pulling her side and just saying, like, we have to revisit this, and what can we do to problem solve this, and putting it back on them, like asking the question to them. Unfortunately, it was one of those things that it just was a misalignment. And I did learn that the hard way, that if somebody is not able to take ownership of their own thing and they want to also take ownership of other things outside of them, that can be really challenging. So there is a personality piece of it that I think is really important to feel out. And some of that just has to do with like that gut instinct. And that was one of those situations where I just knew something was not, it was a little off, but I didn't know what the thing was. And I think that might have been it. And so trusting your gut is a really big one.
Such good advice that you can never hear enough, right? Because we all know it, but it's hard to
Yeah.
practice sometimes. And I know we're at time. This really has flown, but Ambrosia, I'm going to throw one more your way if you don't mind, and then we'll let everyone go. Um, all right, let's do this one from Massimo, which is how to hire employees in an oversaturated area of salons.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think hiring somebody, if you're in an oversaturated area, then even more paramount, more important to find the right fit of person. So that's where you might have your own funnel that you build, and you don't necessarily have to do the 4-step option. But if you could really only bring one person in, and you have an area that feels very saturated, that it's so important to get aligned. So a little bit of a back work on your end, perhaps, is just figuring out who that perfect person might be. And I would say, it might be somebody who's an extension of you, right? So you've been successful on your own for a reason. Your clients come to you for a reason, and you want to trust somebody that you can be able um, to lead some of those clients to if you can't take care of your clients. So you want to think of who somebody could be your right hand man that you could really trust. And part of that trust is built in the exercises of finding the person that is going to be the best fit for you. And that comes back to your own cultures and values. So having a funnel where you do a several step process before you interview is going to be even the most important of all.
Awesome. Sorry, everyone. I wish we could answer even more
I know.
questions. We'll
Yeah.
have to do another one soon. But I just want to say thank you, Ambrosia, for your wisdom. This has been incredibly illuminating. And thank you, everyone. I know you're so busy, and spending an hour with us, we don't take it for granted. So thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions about GlossGenius, you can reach out to support, where you'll talk to Kieran and her team. And we are also always available, and we'll be doing more of these.
Yay. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Gloss Genius.
Yay.
And thank you, everyone. Great to meet everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening or wherever morning, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.